Us, abandoned ship. We're not caring about this car. We're thinking about the next year.
Exit clauses, yada yada yada.
Hulkenberg is the blue shell right now. Angle grinder guy, he gets a raise.
There you go. He gets
Whoa.
both salaries.
There you go.
What are they doing with the 5th and 6th seats?
Yeah, it's just Weenie Hut Formula One Junior now.
They
Okay.
they don't fire up the same way that F1 cars do.
Formula One fans, welcome to the Tyred Boys podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone. We've got another fun week ahead of you here. We had the Mexico Grand Prix in Mexico City. Really exciting race. There's a lot of action, especially early on, some different tire strategies. I'm looking forward to getting into it. But before that, Justin, just very good to see you and happy to be here for another week.
Yeah, man, I thought I thought the Mexican Grand Prix was a pretty good one. Even from the Saturday qualifying, we had a really exciting Q3. But yeah, no supporting series for the weekend. So yeah, just getting right into it as well with some of the other motorsports winding down. Some of the other series have taken breaks for the season. So yeah, not a whole lot in the way of just like general motorsport news. I do have one quick hitter that I wanted to bring to the table. Often the punching bag of the show. Sometimes, we just kind of out of pocket make fun of Kyle Larson, the driver that's like making big. I wanted to say waves, but that's more for like an up and comer. He's just like he's a strong competitor in NASCAR, you would say, and somebody that just like catches strays on the show. He recently over the weekend at the Martinsville Speedway race made it into the championship four, they call it in the NASCAR series, beating out him and three other guys, beating out drivers from the Penske team who traditionally have dominated the NASCAR series. No of the three Penske drivers are in the top four, so just like a big shakeup here on the year. But of course, we're seeing Kyle Larson into the top four, and I just wanted to highlight just a really fun post-race interview that he did. If you go back and watch the highlights from the Martinsville Speedway race on Sunday, a lot of cautions on track, a lot of restarts. And he calls out a driver, like in particular. He's like, oh, car number 77, they were part of a lot of restarts tonight. And then later on, when asked about like the reliability of his car and did he have confidence like to get it to the end with all of those restarts, his answer was like, well, I had confidence in my car. But other drivers around me, he says, their give a shit factor goes out the window and it gets pretty tough out there. And I was like, damn, dude. I mean, calling it like you see it, but yeah, he definitely drove hard, kept it in there, and yeah, a great result for him. And for me, just a funny post race interview for somebody that like I've kind of made fun of for no real reason.
Sorry for the brief interruption there, folks. We're back.
Yeah,
But
you were
talking
just
about
giving
Kyle
me your thoughts
Larson,
on. Yep.
yeah, I think that for someone who, yeah, we do talk about and everything, he's definitely performing really well. Just as a driver, I think that's cool to see, and there's a reason that he is at the top of conversation and everything. But hearing him and like just I think interviews in general from other series compared to F1 drivers is just so funny in a way because there are very few F1 drivers that don't give these kind of manicured, like PR guided responses and answers to like they're very PR trained over in Formula One, and I feel like in NASCAR and IndyCar, it's a little bit looser when the drivers are talking, whether it's Santino Ferrucci over in IndyCar and some of the guys that he's collided with, um, or Kyle Larson talking about the give a shit factor in in the end of the season here for NASCAR. So definitely fun to keep tabs on that, and big ups for Larson there.
Yo, and to your point, man, if I had $1 for every time I heard a Formula One driver say, I have to go back and look at the data like when asked about whatever event, it's like I could race in Formula One if I had that many dollars. So yeah, to your point about the manicured responses, but yeah, that's the one quick hitter that I wanted to bring to the table here today. But yeah, we can move on to the next segment. Let's get into do you work here. We have some Formula Two seat announcements that we'd like to get into, and just talk about some of the other drivers that we'll see in the supporting series.
Yeah, and so Noel Leon is someone that we're seeing announced to drive this coming year for Campos Racing. I find it kind of interesting because I was trying to think. I'm like, I don't think he was doing insanely well in the Formula 3 grid. So I was a little just intrigued by that decision. Looking at it, he was or is P17 finished P17 in this year's Formula 3 championship. Last year he finished in P10. So a little less consistency this year, but moving up to Formula 2, he's going from being a driver for Prima Racing and switching over to Campos, who we've seen had some really strong performances with the likes of Rafael Camara in Formula 3, and who are a top three team in the team standings for Formula 2. So definitely a positive upgrade there. He is also a little bit older of a driver in comparison to some on those grids. He's 21 now, which by no means is like crazy old for an F2 or F3 driver, but there are some younger guns out there that are coming up as well. So interesting to see him make that move, and I'm interested to see how he performs this coming year. And another announcement for the F2 grid there is, of course, Colton Herta, who was officially announced to race for High Tech. We had talked about him being rumored to go there, but now is officially confirmed to be there while he's Cadillac's test driver as well. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see the performance there in Formula Two, and if High Tech's able to put together a good car for him or a good engine to be up against the rest of the grid. So a very interesting upcoming year of Formula Two with some of the drivers that are coming over. There's been other reports about potentially, I think it was Ryo Hirakawa, who was the FP1 driver for Haas this week, as a potential teammate with High Tech. Um, we've had a couple of other announcements with Nicholas Solov, Dino Bogdanovich, Joshua Dirksen, all continuing on in the Formula 2 grid next year, but still a lot of drivers to be officially confirmed there. So we've got a little in the ways of that. And of course, one of the drivers who's still waiting to kind of know what they're going to do next year would be Arvid Lindblad, who we saw he is most likely going to be in that Racing Bulls seat next year, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. And now, with the recent performance of Yuki Tsunoda being on a little bit of an upswing over the past couple of races, it looks like there's conversations now about, hey, do we keep Yuki and potentially let him continue into next year as Max's teammate? Have Isaac and Arvid there in the Racing Bulls. Liam's still, of course, up for potential seat with the team as well. So there's a lot of different options still there with Red Bull, and it doesn't seem any closer to being decided than we would have expected a week ago. So still a number of seats to be confirmed there, in particular with the Red Bull organization.
Yeah, and I think each of those drivers would bring different strengths. I know a little bit less about Lindblad. Obviously, have only like really seen him in a like The Formula 2 and Formula 3 races highlight so many different drivers throughout the course of them. It's
Mm,
hard to get a read on each of them as individuals. Each time there's only like one or two drivers that by the end of the season I could really say like, okay, I think I understand them like as drivers.
yeah.
Everybody else feels like a bit of an anomaly.
You can kind of see some strengths and weaknesses across the season, but it's hard to get a real feel for these as drivers, which I feel like is a big part of why rookies are such a um typically like kind of buyer beware almost with teams bringing on young drivers, and we see teams like Cadillac where they're like, we're just coming in, we want two guys who are veterans, we don't want to be risking it with young drivers that we can't vet out or don't have that kind of history for us to look at. And so yeah, I think it's the F2 and F3 races, yeah, you can see kind of the cream of the crop at the top, but some of those drivers that are more ending up in the midfield fights, it can be a lot tougher to discern where they're actually at.
for me, just my eye test tells me that Isak Hadjar at this point has the biggest upside. We've seen his resilience, we've seen his improvements over this year as the racing bull has gotten better. So yeah, I think Isak Hadjar right now for the Red Bull outfit at large, I'll say, is still like an asset. I think he still has way more in the pro than the con column, in my opinion. I think Yuki, we've had enough time. He's been in a variety of different situations, and it feels like really the best he can do is like midway up the grid, maybe a little bit better depending on the circuit, but more often than not, especially like in comparison to Max, he's not raking in as many points. So if I were to look into my crystal ball, I'm gonna say Isak is getting the promotion. But yeah, it seems like there's still a little bit up to be decided. That's just like if I was writing it, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. And I think there's still, I mean, we have a number of weekends still left in the calendar where Liam and Yuki are only 4 points apart in the standings
Right.
there. I agree with you. I think Hajar has been definitely the best of those drivers this year. He's up 10th in the championship. He's 9 points ahead of Liam. And 11 points ahead, or sorry, 7 points ahead of Liam and 11 points ahead of Yuki. Like he's having a great year in that Racing Bulls car. So I think it will eventually just come down to Yuki and Liam, and whether that little bit of unknown still with Liam versus what we've seen with Yuki is that make or break deciding factor. Um, it's just been tough for Yuki. I think he's performed well for a number of years. He's beat his teammates. He's like had some solid performances, but just overall, it hasn't been decisive enough or had as many highs as we're seeing already with like Isak Hajar that maybe will catch the eye to keep him around a bit longer. He's definitely on the edge there.
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning, you could see the reasons why they would go for any of them. But yeah, I think those are the kind of strengths and weaknesses of each of them. Yeah, but nothing confirmed yet, as you said. A couple of races left, and then even into the off season.
Yeah.
However, with the multi-session winter testing that's going to go on, I have a feeling that they're going to want to lock up contracts sooner rather than later to like make sure they know
Yeah.
who's going to be in the car for those tests. That could just be my assumption, but an educated guess at least. But yeah, still a couple races to go. Yo, one thing that I did not know about the Mexican Grand Prix that happened on Sunday, and thank gosh for the fans, thank gosh for the community, out in the stands getting the lowdown. Because like I had no idea that there were just a couple of marshals like sprinting across the track in the.
Yeah.
I guess that was like the late stage scenario of the race when there
It
was like the virtual safety car.
no, so it was actually early. It was when I think it was after I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure it was after the initial turn 1 chaos because Liam
Oh.
pitted on lap 2. So he came around like with some damage. He gets a new front wing early in the race, and so the marshals were out there thinking, oh, all the drivers have gone by and everything, but Liam was in the pits, so they went out before Liam had come past. He was like half a lap down or so from the rest of the grid after that stop, and he came, yeah, way closer than should be for in terms of safety. I was actually, that was one of the conversations I was thinking about later, but um, I was looking at the kind of rules for marshals entering the track because I was like, we've had these conversations before about safety, about marshals, and I thought I remembered there being some rule about them not being supposed to go across the track, like that there's marshals on both sides essentially, that like you're not supposed to cross. I don't know if that is exactly it, but there's protocol about how this is supposed to go. A marshal is supposed to request from race control to go out to clear debris. It's got to be under a safety car or a double yellow, which I think they had a double yellow in that section waving from the debris. Then there's a double check protocol where race control is supposed to confirm that all cars have passed the relevant area before marshals can be deployed out there. And so that's where things kind of went awry, is that they clearly, someone was not on top of it with race control, and it made for a scary situation because they, with that double check, someone should have seen, no, Lawson's pitting. He's going to be coming out of the pits. We have to wait till he comes through. You can't send people out there yet, or we need to go to a virtual safety car or a safety car if to clear this debris, whatever the situation is. But
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I appreciate that little bit of context. Okay, so that was clearly some type of vital miscommunication happened for that moment to occur.
yeah, it definitely just shouldn't happen. Like we've talked about other situations when there's inclement weather and things like that, and safety in those situations and all. This is like one of the most basic situations that race control and the marshals have on a weekend, is that there's some carbon fiber that gets knocked off the side of some cars, and we need to clear it out of the way or pick up some front wing end plates and things like that. So yeah, really one of the more base situations, and so that's something that they definitely shouldn't be messing up, and putting marshals in a dangerous spot, and Liam in a dangerous spot, because he's out there having to react to a kind of unexpected scenario while driving at these high speeds and everything, and that's just, yeah, not a risk that uh, anyone should be having at this point.
No, of course not. And yeah, the in a moment like this, you can see the awareness of a Formula One driver. Like he was able to like begin reducing speed very quickly. The brakes on the car, operating beautifully in the way that it's like it didn't really feel that dangerous. He was able to slow down quite reliably, I would say. but those are the last things that you want to be going well, right? You would hope all of the other systems and checks like are in place before, you have to rely on, the brakes being quite reliable. So yeah, just happy to see that nobody got hurt. And like I said, yeah, thank you for the color of the what's in the rule book, because yeah, sometimes that's very helpful to understand, what's going on or what's going wrong.
Yeah, and it's like I'm glad to know that they have these procedures in place because that's how you do keep people safe is by having a process, having people double checking things. And so it's yeah, just one of those things that they should definitely be revisiting, I guess, week to week a little bit more with the marshals. Just since the marshals are volunteers like on site and everything, I think that I'm sure they go through safety briefings and everything, but I would imagine that for the rest of the season, at minimum, that is going to be a something to highlight in those safety meetings ahead of race weekends. But
For
like
sure.
you said, definitely glad that everyone was okay, but not the ideal situation. Um, and so we'll get into a lot more of the actual racing and action here in just a minute. But before we do, we just want to remind you all, if you are listening, if you're following along, don't forget to join the Discord, have conversations with us about the race weekends. We get in there, we're chatting during the race weekends, qualifying races. We'd love to have you join us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the follow buttons. Our link tree is in the description, but we appreciate you all being a part of our F1 community here.
Thank you for listening, and back to the episode. Yeah, we're gonna get into the hot seat now, right?
All right, let's rock and roll. Hot seat in Mexico City.
Are you ready for this one? Like, how well do you actually think you like know this race?
Not that well. So I'm
Okay.
I'm
All right. Very
I'm
cool.
targeting a at least a 3. I don't want to
At
drop.
least a three.
I'm hoping for a 3. I guess is the better way to say it.
Interesting, interesting. Well, the producers gave me a bonus question. So you have an extra opportunity to nail that 3-point goal that we have. So for those of you following along at home, we're gonna put Aaron in the hot seat. We're gonna ask him a whole bunch of questions about the Mexican Grand Prix, and we're gonna test his knowledge. Aaron, are you ready to get into the hot seat?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, very cool. Question number one. The Mexico City Grand Prix circuit sits at an altitude of 7,343 feet above sea level. This attribute makes it the highest elevation circuit that the drivers compete on. What is the particular challenge of this elevation? Is it A, reduced aerodynamic grip? Is it B, cold track temps? Or is it C, tough on strategy?
I would say a reduced aerodynamic grip.
You got it, sir. And a lot of times that like causes a bunch of problems for the drivers. They want there to be grip where there is not. Question number two. A complex, tight set of low speed corners dominate the third sector of this track. What structure do the drivers race through to the finish straight? Is it A, an airport? Is it B, a market? Or is it C, a stadium?
I actually don't know this, so I'm just gonna wing it and say C, a stadium.
You are correct, sir. I'm surprised you have to wing it, but hey, a right answer is a right answer. We're two for two so far. All right, question number three. Now, I have a definition in here for you, so pay attention. So, what modern Formula One driver holds the current race record for the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit? So, modern is defined as 10 years. So, any driver, it can be any driver within 10 years. Okay, so is it A, Charles Leclerc? Is it B, Valtteri Bottas? Or is it C, Carlos Sainz Jr.?
Um,
No easy ones here. You got to really know it. Who would be a record holder?
I'll go with. Ooh, I'll go with Charles Leclerc.
Mm, that's a good guess, but Charles Leclerc, he's a good qualifier. He's not a good racer. Valtteri Bottas, qualifying master. That's who has
Okay.
it. Or
Alrighty.
a race master. Sorry, I got him flipped over. Anyway, question number 4. True or false? Senna won here at Mexico City at the Mexico City Grand Prix. Senna won the Mexico City Grand Prix more than Alain Prost. True or false?
False.
Nailed it. It's
All
2 to
right.
1 to Elaine Prost.
I'm
Nailed
surprised
it.
that they had that many races there that far back. I didn't realize how long they've been racing in Mexico City.
Very cool. There's actually some really great history to the Mexico Grand Prix. Question number 5. Here's your Max Verstappen fact. Let's see. In 2017, Max Verstappen won his first of many Mexico Grand Prix. Who were the two drivers competing for the title that year? The winner actually clinched this event. Is it A, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg? Is it B, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel? Or is it C, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas?
B. Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Max taking the win here from those two competitors. The points different, clinches it for Lewis anyway. But yeah, a tight championship battle that year. When you look back and watch those races, they're just trading wins back and forth, trading poles back and forth. It's a wild year. All right. So that's 4 from 5. You already beat your
There we
goal.
go.
Let's see if we can get the bonus question right now. What's the name of the stadium?
Just um Herman Cortez Stadium. Is that the
No, I believe it's a baseball stadium that they race
Okay.
through, and the name of the baseball stadium is Foro Sol. So I guess it's like the
Okay.
Stadium of the Sun. So quite
Okay.
a quite a
Very cool.
beautiful name. Didn't nail the bonus point, but hey, we still beat the goal. We beat 3 out of 5. That's pretty solid. That's good.
Yeah, I'll take it. Absolutely. So there is the hot seat for the Mexico City Grand Prix this week. So 4 out of 6, 4 out of 5, depends how you want to count the bonus, but yeah, not too shabby.
Yeah, when you get the bonus wrong, oh, now it kind of hurts my score. Damn.
I was like, if I get the bonus right, do I get a 5 out of 5 or a 5 out of 6? How is this teacher keeping track of extra credit here? But yeah, getting into the Mexico City Grand Prix this week. It started off with and I think we can jump right in with some salacious headlines. My first one kind of leads us into the weekend here. So my first salacious headline was the running of the rookies. In FP1, we had 9 different teams running one of their rookie or test drivers on the grid. We saw McLaren run Pato O'Ward out there, the P2 finisher in the IndyCar series this past year. We had Fred Vesti in for George Russell, and so Justin, for some Fred Vesti history, since you and I were talking, and you're like, I don't really remember this guy. I remembered him from apparently a couple years ago. I was trying to place it. He was a F2 driver 2 years ago. He was P2 in the championship in 2023, behind Teo Porcher. And he has most recently been Mercedes reserve driver and a Cadillac IMSA driver, in the IMSA series. So Fred Vestian for George Russell. Ferrari had and we had kind of a number of these drivers who are driving in other series hop in here, not just these kind of up and coming feeder series drivers. So Antonio Fuoco was in for Ferrari for Lewis Hamilton. He was on the Ferrari 24 Hour of Le Mans winner team from last year in 2024. Um, So those top three guys, none being in the feeder series, all people who've had success kind of elsewhere uh, in their individual racing series that they're in at this point. But then a number of those younger F2 drivers who are looking to kind of find their place in the future of F1. Jack Crawford in for Lance Stroll, who's P2 in the F2 championship. Luke Browning, who's P3 in the F2 championship, was in for Carlos Sainz at Williams. We had Arvid Lindblad in for Max. Ayuma Iwasa in for Liam Lawson. Rio Hirakawa in for Ollie Behrman at Haas, and then Paul Aaron in for Pierre Gasly at the Alpine team. Paul Aaron kind of still being that second name that's in those Alpine conversations along with Franco Colapinto. So a very just mixed up um, uh, practice session one here. We had Lindblad, who finished the highest in P6. He was the highest of these rookie drivers or test drivers coming in. Pato Award was second in P13. So just from that alone, I know we were talking about Lindblad a little bit earlier, but that's a very like just positive thing to see. I think for Lindblad to come out here, he's only had one other practice session across the year where he was in Silverstone, I believe, for an FP1. So just a pretty impressive performance. We'll say that three times fast here for Lindblad, in my opinion. After going into a Red Bull car that has generally been trickier to drive, but I think in recent weeks has definitely become a little bit more drivable, as we've seen with both Max's compliments on the car and Yuki's improved performance. Um, so yeah, definitely a solid test session for Lindblad to kind of boost himself up in that running for that position in Red Bull next year.
Yeah, big time agree. Like what you would say would be like a slower car on average than the McLarens, and then having Pato as a very successful IndyCar driver, you would say getting into that McLaren. Yeah, you would think it would be like the other way around, and then if not Pato a little higher. So yeah, that's kind of big props to Lindblad to beat out the field of these other rookies and other series racing drivers.
Yeah, and overall, and I agree. I thought Pato would finish a little bit higher up. He's the hometown hero as well, being a Mexican driver in IndyCar and everything. But um, still, not a bad performance. I think it's tough racing at that elevation, like we talked about. The grip is very weird, and especially in those that first practice session, you don't want to do anything silly and ruin the one of the main drivers' opportunities on the weekend. Helmet Marco had our boy Helmet Marco had said about Lindblad's practice session that he was in a pretty difficult spot. He was told don't do anything wrong and don't crash the car, and he delivered and performed really well. Um, so yeah, seeing that in that kind of situation, I do kind of expect some of these newer drivers or test drivers for the session to be a little bit more cautious, I guess. So not too shocked that a lot of them are further down the grid there, but yeah, solid day for Lindblad.
Well, it better be, right? It's not like they're being gifted their like first day on track as like a make a wish thing. Ultimately, FP1 is about data gathering, and regardless of what driver is in the car, like the team needs the data. It's not some
Mm.
like glory or like victory lap scenario, like just for the person in the car. So yeah, you would want them, and I have a feeling this is one of the other attributes that teams may be looking at, as opposed to just like how fast somebody is like how much are they willing to play the team game? How much are they just gonna just get in the seat, lock in, run the program, get the data that the team needs, and just get out and not make any mistakes. So I
Yeah.
think that's also a quality that that these teams want from the drivers.
Yeah, and Helmut Marko mentioned that briefly in the little thing that I saw from him as well. It said that his technical feedback was very impressive too. So yeah, definitely a positive when you're looking at the future and seats and everything to know that they're gonna, like you said, run through the system and get all the data points they need. So yeah, definitely a solid opportunity for all of those drivers to get out there and put some laps in. Um, but I'll pass it over to you for the next salacious headline here.
Saturdays are for competition again. I felt like this Saturday's qualifying session was not I don't want to say one of the best, but it was of the type of qualifying sessions that I've come to expect during this year. It feels like the Q3s have been so competitive and the times are literally just about like position on track where like you just want to be the last one setting the lap because the tracks are evolving. They are getting quicker most of the time towards the end of these qualifying sessions. So I found them to be just very exciting overall, and not just like are we in a competitive year, yes or no, but for this one in particular, we have the Oliver Behrman story where you have this Haas who's nowhere on the weekend getting up into Q3 and then really improving his position from there as well. So yeah, I was having a great time on Saturday just for like the competitiveness of the field. I love seeing the top drivers just like trading lap times back and forth, hearing Alex Jakes like get loud about Charles Leclerc setting a lap time, and then immediately just like getting even louder about Lando Norris setting a lap time, just banging them off of each other. So yeah, I really enjoy the qualifying, and it's great to have that be like um a minor focal point on the weekend and not just like check swatch. Okay, Max on pole. All right, Sunday it is. It's
Yeah,
it's it's more interesting that way.
absolutely. I'm completely there with you. I think it's this week was a really great qualifying session. We yeah, it comes down to those last laps being set. Felt similar to Monaco in like a track evolution and how quickly things can change at the end of the session as well. Not so much for the race because this is setting it up for some actual good racing here, where you can make up some positions, unlike Monaco. But very exciting qualifying session, and like you said, having Alex Jakes in the announcing, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat, waiting to see who's going to set that next lap, who's going to be out. We saw um, a lot of laps being traded at the top, but overall, um, I think that's the competitiveness, or the level that's really exciting to see in F1. And so I hope that in the new regulations we have teams relatively close together, because when you have some Haas's up there ahead of all these cars and the grids mixed up on a dry day, like that's a cool opportunity. It's not because of some weather, it's just pure pace, drivers having a good or a bad day, and it was a fun one and led to a pretty fun race, I think, with the competitiveness out there.
And here's like a just an element that it like takes a bit to develop, but I can definitely feel it. The like Pavlovian response around like the purple sectors, like you see sector 1 and like sometimes it's not on screen.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's kind of like what makes it better because you see like purple sector 1, the camera won't go. Purple sector 2, the camera doesn't go, right? And then like
Yeah.
the announcers start talking about it. But dude, it's like it's so crazy cuz like for many of the drivers, there'll be like one session or one run where they're able to get like all greens. But sometimes you'll see like green, yellow, green, like yellow, yellow,
Mhm.
green, whatever it is, and like where these drivers are having difficulties. But dude, it's so crazy in a session like this where like everybody is fast. Like all of the tickers at the bottom of the screen are just going crazy, right? And then it's like it's like the WWE guy or meme where he's like getting like increasingly more blown away as like things are
Yeah.
happening, and it is just that purple, 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 and then like bang to the top of the lap times. Like, bro, these qualifying sessions are like legitimately exciting.
And I'll piggyback off you there. I think what for me is even more fun than seeing those that purple, purple, purple is when you see someone whose ticker's lighting up. It's like purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Sector 1 turns green because someone takes away the purple sector and
Okay.
you don't know who
Right.
it is yet. They haven't thrown that timer on the bottom because they're just starting, and then you see the sector times that were purple turning back green, and you're like, oh, someone's on a burner right now.
Right. Right.
That's exciting, and it's just super super fun to watch. And so yeah, the excitement around qualifying is it just makes the race weekend as a whole so much more fun just across the weekend.
What's your next headline, sir?
So my next headline here is "Blink and You'll Miss It," and that was with the start of the race. I was trying to find a way to kind of be like, I hope you had your alarm clock set for the right time. Here on the East Coast, we're dealing with a an afternoon race versus we're so used to morning 9 a.m., 8 a.m. races here in on the East Coast of the US. And um, I was wrapping up the Eagles game, and I'm like, the Eagles, they've got this in the bag. There's a little time left, 10 minutes till the race. Let me hop in.
Go birds.
Boy, am I glad that I was on time because the start of that race was chaotic. If you sat down at lap 3, you still got a good race, but you missed so much early action there, going 4 wide into turn 1, Max being kind of pushed onto the grass by Leclerc. Um, Everyone's going wide, everyone's cutting corners. George is fuming. Sonoda jumping up spots, Piastri's down, Behrman's up. Like everyone is just across the board, just kind of all over the place. And it was a very exciting start to the race. Like you said, the Ollie Behrman story coming through with him jumping up from his starting position down in P9. He was up to P6 by the end of lap 1, I believe. Then he's just quickly getting in that fight as Max and Lewis and George are all kind of squabbling over positions there, and Ollie Behrman was ready to pounce. So yeah, very very fun, chaotic start to the race there this weekend.
Yeah, I think if you sat down on lap 3 and you were like, let me get into this Formula One race, all you would have heard was George Russell just like complaining on the radio about things that they wouldn't show a replay for.
Yeah, I mean, and I can understand. It's a mix. Like some races, turn 1 and cutting corners and everything, they just kind of go, everyone kind of ended up about where they were, and they just kind of chalk
Mhm.
it up as a racing thing. Um, Especially when there's that many cars kind of squabbling early. Like George was so upset about Max like going through the grass. I've watched that replay a couple of times. There was Max was trying his damnedest to stop that car and being out on the grass, like on the left side. I'm just, and a number of the broadcasters were just shocked he didn't bin it into the wall right there with Charles kind of inching him over. So the fact that he went through the grass, I was like, I don't know, like if he had a choice or not. That car was not stopping. But I mean, Lewis did go off track then as well, but George also kind of went off track here and there too as the chaos was going on. And so for him to be trying to call everyone else out, I was like, it everything seemed to even out from our perspective, but I'm sure these drivers all want any advantage they can get.
Yo, and this is what I've learned. I'll tell you, like a G told me, the ball don't lie. Things end up where they should. And I
Yeah.
think this was one of those scenarios.
Yeah, and I definitely I agree. I think everything panned out pretty evenly. But George was just he was going through it the whole race because we had a number of times of him having some complaints to throw out there. Including my little meme that I put together of the jackass guy who had a car up his ass, as George would have plainly put it this weekend.
That's where that was from,
Yes.
right? Okay.
So I
Like
just
I
I
I knew that was like culturally familiar to me, but I didn't want to be the guy that raised his hand.
no, it just popped to mind. I'm like, like he kept saying, "There's a car up my ass" on the
Mhm.
radio, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was a jackass thing at some point back in the. I had a long forgotten memory from middle school sleepovers at friends' houses watching the Jackass movies late at night. So
Right, where he
yeah,
goes to the doctor's office and
yeah.
he's like, "Hey, man, I need help." Yeah,
I
that
need an
one.
X. I need
Okay,
an X-ray.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, but yeah, George was he was definitely going through it. The complaints about Piastri being behind him, complaining about having more pace and needing the team to swap the cars around, the complaints about people cutting corners. He was yeah, just not the happiest of campers on the race weekend.
I'll give you the other side of the coin about the swapping the cars back and forth. Strong teamwork from the Mercedes. If it's within the plan that like they can do that on track where like they're able to say like okay, you can go hunting if you believe you're quicker and then you got to swap back. I do appreciate George like keeping his word in that regard, wanting to give the place back to Kimmy asking, them flopping. It was relatively cleanly done. We've seen similar maneuvers go awry from other teams. So even if it's not our favorite driver on the grid asking for the swap forward, I think it was relatively cleanly executed from the pair of them on a weekend where like Mercedes was set to scoop up a good amount of points there on Sunday. So I think that was well executed and they didn't like give too much away. Thoughts?
I I tend to agree. I think that it's one of those situations that they needed to make the call sooner. And like
Okay.
I know it's tough because George is saying that, but like has he actually proven it in his lap times? Like what is the data showing necessarily that that gives George this optimism that he can go chasing after Behrman? But I think like if they set up these guidelines ahead of time, maybe and not mid race, where he's like, I will give the position back if that's just the expected like way they work it out. Um, they could have done it sooner before George wasn't as under pressure from Oscar from behind because they had a very small gap to swap around when they did. They did execute it, but it was very risky that they could have lost the place right there to Oscar
Hmm.
on Kimmy's tail. And the other part of that is if George goes chasing after Behrman and doesn't get it, but Oscar is in between George and Kimmy, he's not giving that place back. This isn't end of the race. We're running away from whoever's behind us. Like, we've got a 10-second gap here. Let me swap around, and then we can swap back at the end easy. Oscar's then right on Kimmy's tail. All it takes is Oscar being in between there, and they're not. George isn't doing anything. He's not giving that position back, except for the fact that Oscar got past him in the pit stop. So
No, and I think that'd be like tough if you asked him to, but that wasn't the scenario. I
no, it's
understand.
so
I
I
understand it. Like yeah, that complicates things significantly.
yeah. So I think you like as a team, they just need, and I'm sure they have some plans in place with things like that and a system of the way they do and handle those situations. But um, yeah, I thought if they were gonna let George through, should have done it a little bit quicker. But the whole giving it back, I don't like. If possible, yes, but I think that's a tough spot to kind of put Kimmy in as well, to just be like, hey, kind of potentially give up your race. You're not gonna be able to stay in DRS to George for forever to protect you from Oscar, and then that makes it a little bit tougher. But I do agree that they executed it pretty well, and it worked out the way they said it would in the end. I respect George big time for giving the position back. So like, just the way he did and everything at the end. So um, I think they managed it well. It's just a tough situation to just be in general when you're in that close of a fight.
Sure. I think it was a solid amount of points though gained from the Mercedes. Yeah,
Definitely.
under pressure from Piastri for sure. But yeah, a decent maneuver that you're right could in other scenarios definitely turn out worse. But yeah, but for now a little bit of decent teamwork I would say.
Yeah, pretty solid, and they needed the teamwork because they do lose out on some points here to Ferrari. Ferrari jumps back ahead of them in the constructors standings with their P2 from Leclerc. Just 1 point difference between Ferrari and Mercedes, but yeah, kind of maximizing points and everything from the Mercedes team to do as much as they can in what had seemingly been a pretty tough weekend for their car. They just didn't seem to have the pace that we've seen over some of the more recent races. So good way to yeah, maximize points as a team and have both cars as high up there as they could.
For sure, for sure. Now, my next headline has a little bit of a Halloween slant, so like forgive me, if I'm getting too spooky here. The ghost of Lando no wins is exorcised. I find when he is able to convert a qualifying pole into a victory, that's where you see him be his like it- the like best version of himself, where sometimes I think in previous campaigns those were the moments where he likely gave away the most points was honestly from his starts where yes he could gain himself a pole position, but sometimes he wasn't able to convert that like other top drivers are able to do. So
Mm.
I find on a weekend like this that is definitely worth bringing up as a talking point, because it is so core to what used to make Lando a bit of an inconsistent driver, even in advantageous positions. It's weekends like this that in some way make me believe like he's kind of shed that skin, kind of shed that moniker in some ways where it's like, no, he can qualify with the best of them. By the way, the driver that he took the lap off was Charles Leclerc. A lot of people could make the argument that Charles is one of the better qualifiers that's, on the grid right now. So yeah, I think it was a lights out weekend from Norris, and able to convert an advantageous position that he struggled with previously, and he did it with like flying colors. He was gone. He was gone.
Yeah.
The second Max was like in his precarious moment, Lando was gone. The race was won. He had a pit stop in hand by the end of it, which by the way was a talking point that everybody loved to say about Max, but nobody said it about my boy Lando. So I'm
Yep.
just saying.
It was one of the most dominant wins of I almost went and looked back because that race win from Max a few races ago was like the most dominant win, or like largest margin of victory. I think Lando did beat that this weekend with he was ahead by like 30.5 seconds at the end of the race. So just, and that was part of my last headline too, was just talking about Lando and how well he performed. He hasn't led in the drivers championship since week 5 or race 5 of the year. He led after Bahrain, loses it at Saudi Arabia to Piastri, and has been behind since then. Now takes the lead over Oscar by 1 point. And to your point as well, the start for him was it was incredible. I mean, that is one of the toughest circuits to hold the lead from the start because of how long the main straight is from the start line, the slipstream that the cars behind can get, and everything. Um, and he took the lead and just ran away with it the entire race, and so extremely impressive from him. And yeah, now taking the lead back in the drivers championship as well. um he seems to be in top form at the right time of year now, so very big props to Lando on the weekend.
Very, very cool stuff. And having the championship set between the two McLaren drivers with an attacking Max Verstappen, it's crazy for them, the two teammates, to be like just 1 point apart from each other. It feels like we're gonna go all the way to Abu Dhabi to decide this
Yeah.
between the three of them. And like the more points Max gets, the more he's like into the conversation.
He's
But
still over an entire race behind, like he's third. But on this weekend, I like, one of my points with Max was that he still is closer in points to the championship leader than he was at the beginning of the weekend. He was 40 points back from Oscar at the start of the weekend, but
mhm,
he's only 36 points back now from Lando as the leader. So he gained points on Oscar and still closed the gap to the championship leader on a weekend that wasn't like that didn't pan out as well as it could, where Lando had the perfect weekend really and takes the points. It's just that those fine margins that I think it's gonna be a fun last few races to see how the points which way the points go.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, and that little rat Carlos Sainz fucking robbed us.
I mean, I will say the race control and stewarding robbed us there, because I watched where I looked at the video where Carlos Sainz pulled up. He was like behind a barrier. He pulled
I
into
know,
one of those
I
little
know.
spots, and I'm like,
Stop.
it's
Don't
just
remind me.
I know. I was so pumped. I had been watching for like 15 laps since Max's pit stop, just watching the seconds
Bro,
tick
we all
down.
were. That
I
was the most
know.
exciting thing on track.
But I was just
And
like,
it was genuinely possible, which was
yeah.
like the best part about it.
I can't believe that. Yeah, we were robbed by the virtual safety car there of seeing some more on track action. Started off with a bang. We could have had the race end with some contention there. Um, but yeah, a very interesting decision from the stewarding to throw the virtual safety car there, and then to take it away when virtually nothing has changed with where Carlos's car is at. Just in the second half of the last lap, after all the overtaking opportunities have come and gone, and they're like, "Oh, now go race, go ahead."
Yeah, as they're like pulling onto the pit straight, it's like the virtual safety car is over. You can race now, guys.
Yeah. They're like, we're on our cooldown lap, bud. Like,
Bro, kill me right now. I was fuming. I was like, what the hell? What the hell? You cannot end a race like this, please.
yeah,
Yo,
I was ready for some action.
the funniest part was when you get to the post race interview with Charles Leclerc, and he's like, yeah, I was pretty happy about the virtual safety
Oh,
car. It's
absolutely.
so funny. Like, yes, obviously,
Yeah,
like, but the difference of opinion is so funny. Where all the fans are like, no, we were robbed of some great
yeah.
racing. He's like, thank you so much to the FIA for securing me P2.
Well, and Max's replies and everything to the questions have, it's so funny how drastically like they've changed across this season, where uh at this point, like he is that hunter, and he's just so like laid back about everything. He's like, yeah, sometimes I've had safety cars go my way. This one didn't. It is what it is. I'm like, whoa, what is
Yo, that answer though, like it hits so hard because him of all people know when a safety car goes in your favor, just like how tilting that can be, either good or bad, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
whichever side of the coin you're on. So
Yeah.
like, bro, th- there's actually like, you know, it's crazy. That's like Royce levels of layers to that line where he's like, "Yeah, man, sometimes it goes in your favor." And you're saying like he's so relaxed. It's just like a throwaway to him, but it's like, bro, no one has ever come so positively out of a safety car than you have, my dude. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
knows that better than anybody in
Oh yeah.
life, and it,
And
dude,
so it's
that
like, if he starts like talking trash on those situations and everything, but I think that's one that he's been like that for a while. Like even when Lando won in Miami there for Lando's first race win, and they're like, "Oh, Max, you should have had it, but the safety car." He's like, "Well, if my mom had balls, she would be my dad." Like, there's what if? Like, who cares?
mhm.
That's not what happened, and this is the result of it. So yeah, it's
Lines
always
like that
funny
just
to
like they
see.
just knock me right on down to the ground, man. They're so good.
Yeah, it's but see, especially I think Max and Charles have that rapport as well, where Charles can get those little like, "Oh yeah, I'm lucky me, sorry Max," and that it's kind of the fun of the game with them a little bit. So um so yeah, and talking about Ferrari a little bit as well. We talked about them jumping up over Mercedes in the constructors standings here. Just a phenomenal weekend from them, where at the beginning of the weekend we saw Leclerc and Lewis kind of being like, we don't really expect to be competing with these top teams. Leclerc's qualifying said differently. Leclerc's race said differently. He drove extremely well. Lewis drove well as well all weekend. I was pretty bummed with, and it's one of those weird decisions with the late pit stop for the set to do the three stop strategy and everything. I didn't really feel like some of these guys who pitted late on in the race were actually as under pressure as they felt. Um, all these guys who are reacting to, oh, someone's coming into the pits, I got to react to cover off, when it's like you have a 25-second gap now to them with 10 laps left in the race. Like, I sure hope that you're not gonna give up that many positions, but no, I think it was a little more than that. It was like 20 some laps left in the race, but I was like, you're gonna have to be getting gapped by a second a lap by these guys behind for them to catch you, and they still have to overtake. I always find some of those two stops a little bit funky. When the tires seem to have that longevity to go to the end there.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree. I felt like though the what would you say about it? It did feel like the difference between the soft to medium and then like the medium to soft start, because that's what the difference between like the Max and Charles was, correct? Where Charles
Yeah,
started on the softs and Max was on the mediums, right?
right. And so, like Lewis, Ferrari pitted Lewis at lap like 24, so or 23. So it was a long way to go for um for one set of medium tires there for him. I think it would have held out and everything, but I just the two stop just didn't seem to pan out quite as well as for those drivers as the one stop did at the front, I guess overall. Because we saw Lando, Charles, Max all go with the one stop, and then that cascade behind was very much just like someone pitted and everyone else is trying to cover off the undercut or whatever. Because we saw Oscar come through, pick up a couple places from that pit stop. He jumped Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli in that pit stop at the end, where if those guys don't, who knows? Maybe they stay ahead of Oscar if he pits and they don't, or whatnot, and he has to catch up and make his way through. But yeah, it was a tough position for Lewis to lose out on a couple places at the end after a solid weekend. I think overall the P8 doesn't look as solid as I felt Lewis had on the weekend.
Well, yeah, and I think that goes to the 10-second penalty that he was given as well.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a good
Right.
point.
Right. So combination of, like you were alluding to, tire strategy, yeah, and then having to sit in the pits for 10 seconds. It did take what could have been a good weekend. Yeah, and yeah, wasn't
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, not as solid of a finish, but again, they still pick up points against Mercedes. They picked up 8 points over them, jump up in the constructors. It probably could have been a little bit more, but yeah, tough. And that's a good point about the penalty there for Lewis as well. But one of the other like interesting things that I saw, and I don't know, haven't seen all the details about it, but Fernando Alonso's retirement from the race, it sounded like, from what I was reading on Twitter and whatnot, that Alonso was told to swap positions with Stroll, and so he let Stroll through, pitted, and then retired the car. He was like, you're telling me to swap positions around at like P14, P15, like on the grid right now. He's like, I'm coming in. And they were the pit was didn't look like they were expecting him. He just kind of showed up, shut the car off, and that was the end of his day. So kind of a peculiar scenario there for Alonso.
Yeah, where's the yacht? I just want to. I'm just gonna finish the day out on the water, dude. Forget this.
7,000 feet up in the mountains, unfortunately, not quite as close by as he would hope. But yeah, a kind of peculiar way for his race weekend to end. Um, but were there and well, we talked about. I'll let you take it away about Ollie Behrman. I just a phenomenal weekend for the young guy.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just like that result speaks for itself, man. I just think that's crazy. Where like if you if you watch the practice sessions, he's not the Haas that has the pace. Ocon like has the better of him in like most of the sessions until you get to qualifying, and he just like keeps on ramping up and keeps on ramping up. And I mean, it must be something about the 400,000 screaming fans in that stadium, that helps increase the lap times, as Lewis Hamilton would have you believe. But dude, I mean, he nailed it, bro. Like just all the way through qualifying. Yeah, his Q3 time was towards the back of the top 10 drivers, but I mean, bro was on it. And when they told him that he got into Q3, he just gave like, just a short little woohoo and he just got on with it. I was like, all right.
Yeah, and just a phenomenal race. He said in his post race like interview, they were asking him about the race, and he said, I've always wanted to battle with Max. I didn't think it was gonna happen this soon," kind of thing. And they had a good on track battle there between the two of them. For like you said with Ocon, he had some really good pace. He picks up a couple points, finishes P9 on the day. But watching Ollie in the post race interview, he like waves at his family like mid interview, and then the cameras like pan over and his girlfriend's like bawling her eyes out. It's like, guys, come on. Just... But I thought that was it was cool that he had all those folks there with him for the race weekend as well. I know, especially with some of their families, like they make it some races, but not every single one. So very cool for him to have such a great performance and have his family all there to support him on the weekend. But yeah, the Haas team, some really really good points for them here on the weekend with the P4 from Ollie Behrman and P9, 14-point pickup on the weekend for the Haas team.
Yeah, the broadcast really wants to let everybody know that it's like a family friendly environment. You can bring your kids into the garage. We go racing as a family. It's for your uncle, it's for your grandmother. You can get everybody in, pack them in the garage, and we can just watch some racing together as a family fun event. I'm imagining that's why they're showing all the family there. Honestly, Father Behrman, bro, he is Behrman's like biggest fan and will forever be. He is so locked into the onboards
Oh
like
yeah.
during some of the weekends. He is very supportive and like I would imagine is very in the know about like Oliver Behrman's like racing. I'm sure he's just a big support, and it's great to see that like from the garage, especially from like a younger driver who I imagine that is very demanding on a young individual. It's like an underrated element, that we don't really get into on the show. But you can take a look at somebody like Kimi Antonelli. You remember the talk on the Italian Grand Prix,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, I think I was like partying a little bit too hard. That was like really rough. So it's like there's a lot of pressure. So for him to maybe you could say rise to the occasion, yeah, I just think that's great. And seeing the love from his family is on this weekend really nice to see. And I'll be honest, it's fun to see Father Behrman there in the pitch, just fucking locked into that onboard.
Oh, absolutely. He's always definitely on point when he's there in the paddock. Um, but I think well, the only other notes I had was more talking about the Williams team here. Really tough weekend for them. Carlos Sainz with the penalties in the pit lane, broken pit limiter, some issue with the car there. But then for Alex Albon's side, he has just gone through a really tough stretch recently. Just across the past 6 races, and in particular in qualifying, he was uh, P14. So the last time he's been in the top 10 was the Dutch Grand Prix 6 races ago, where he started P5. In Italy, he was P14, P19 in Baku, P19 after the disqualification in Singapore. For these are all qualifying positions. Sprint race P9 in the US, but then P19 for the main race, and then P17 here in Mexico. So a really, really tough stretch that he's had in terms of qualifying performance. And it's making it really difficult for him to make his way up and pick up any points over the recent weeks where he started P19 this week, gets up to P12, but that's kind of as much as he could do with the car and still outside the points. So when Carlos has been performing pretty solidly in these qualifying sessions, I think that's definitely something that Williams will want to try and figure out and get Albon a little bit more back on track with his qualifying performances.
Yeah, that's an interesting shout, and yeah, I appreciate the look back at a few of his results. Yeah, because it sounds like the qualifying like hampers him, and then like based on the radios that I hear from Albon, it's like all these like disagreements on strategy and like tire setup or whatever. So it's interesting to think, is it like, is it a pace thing, is it a strategy thing, is it a timing issue, um where like sometimes it sounds like it's as simple as like when they get out on track and things like this. I say all of this to say sometimes it feels like Williams struggles with elements of a race session or qualifying session that other teams have they just have it locked in better.
Yeah.
They just know what they're going to do. Based on like the word that I would use is like confusion from the
Hmm.
Williams pit wall. That's often what I feel when I hear like Albon's radio messages to them. He's always like, WTF, mate? Like, why are we doing this? Like, we talked about this. Like, it's
Yeah.
always stuff like this. And you want to make fun of the, is it plan A, B, Z, Q, or G? But it's like, yeah, but the teams that have those activations, it's cleaner comms, it's a better flow of information, more people understand at a quicker clip, right? So you just have to think that there may be some elements not just from the driver that are going on, and I'm using some of the radio to maybe make a read into that, but that's what it feels like. Thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that's probably pretty reasonable. I think Williams is overall like a pretty structured and well organized organization, but it almost, yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Ferrari last year where they're checking and there's never any sure definitive calls that you're hearing across the radio. It's a lot of, yeah, kind of up in the air, like driver thinks this way, teams thinks that way. And I would say also, oftentimes we don't get Alex Albon radios through the race. So I feel like when there are these moments where there's something like that, they kind of cherry pick those opportunities to throw him out there in the team radio, because there's plenty of weekends where we hear very little from him, and those weekends go pretty smoothly. But yeah, definitely a little bit of difficulty with the decision making, and like I said, it seems like, in my opinion, it was a tough weekend for the strategy. We saw a number of the cars going for that two-stop strategy, which clearly, when you look at the race pace and where the front runners, how far out they finished ahead, the two-stop just didn't end up being the way to go. There was a pretty significant gap between a lot of those drivers at the top.
Oh, that's what you were saying about the tire strategy, about the pressure, where
Yeah,
like it felt like the tires weren't going to be going as long. But if you looked at both like Leclerc and Max and how they were able to just like push, 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 it was actually like, well, no, the tires actually just like were fine on a one stop.
they would have. Everyone's seems to, yeah, like they
Oh,
would have made it on the one stop, but whether it was because they stopped too early in some instances and their tires would have made it, but they cut the life too short or whatever. It was a trickier weekend for that strategy, and so yeah, having a little bit of confusion on the radio for Albon or a little bit of back and forth is not as surprising on a weekend like that. So
bro, you were kicking so much game, you literally like just shut my brain down. Like I had to like full reboot to like download that information. Like Jesus.
but yeah, so and that's why with like yeah, Lewis and all, there's 10-second gaps at the top of the field between a bunch of the drivers when it's like it could have been probably a little bit tighter at the end there. But but
Mhm,
either
mhm.
way, it's coming down to it. We don't have a lot of races left, and these decisions that teams are making are going to make a big difference week to week, both in driver standings and in constructor standings. Looking at how close the Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull is. Red Bull is somehow only 10 points back from Ferrari in P2, with Mercedes 1 point back from Ferrari in P3. Um, then we've got the Racing Bulls at 72 points, Aston Martin at 69, Haas at 62, Kick Sauber at 60. So all four of those teams from 6 through 9 in the championship within a very small distance of each other, where we see a weekend like this for Haas, it makes such a huge difference jumping Kick Sauber and putting themselves kind of back into that fight there. Um, so a lot to play for, and a lot of really. I'm excited that there's a lot of really close battles still for those constructor positions on the grid here.
Bro, let me tell you something. Like you're talking about points, how close everybody is. I and this happened twice over the weekend. But one in qualifying and then one after Max's pit stop where like you were saying, we're just watching the gap to Charles just cut away, just get smaller and smaller, right? So it was in qualifying and then where I'm watching, I have my orange shirt on, and all of a sudden I get this weird feeling and I look down and now I have like a dark blue shirt on and I'm like, what is going on? The next day I wake up, I'm excited. I'm like, all right, sweet. Lando's on pole. I put my orange shirt on. I'm like, okay. And then by the end of the race, I'm like, oh, Jesus. Like Max just gets out of the pit. I'm like, oh no, I have a Red Bull shirt on. What is going on? And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, yes, yes, you are just rooting for the best possible outcome. Like, it,
Everyone,
right,
everyone is.
right. It was the type of weekend from him, and especially because he was on the hunt, right? He was chasing them down, where it's like, oh no, I think I'm infected. I think I want him to win now too.
I saw a lot of funny memes on F1 Twitter about how
Wait, no,
everyone
no, no,
is
no, no. That's the first time this joke is being made, by the way.
oh yes, 100%. Um, but just about the Max fandom growing, whether it's for the excitement of the battle or whether it's uh, there's some people out there. We heard Lando getting booed on the podium, which is kind of bullshit after the weekend that he had. Where I mean some people are rooting for Max because they don't want McLaren to win. Some people are
Right.
rooting for Max for the plot. some of us are rooting for Max because we're fans, but across the board, I think everyone just wants an exciting end to the season. But yeah, that was a weird weird thing with Lando getting booed. It was something about um, fans think he should give 3 points back to Oscar from something or some weird. And it's like I don't even consider those people to be fans of the sport because
Yeah, it's just weird.
in sport, you know that things go one way sometimes, other ways the other, like Max said about safety cars. So it's just weird. The booing on the podium needs to chill, especially when the dude goes and has a weekend like that. That was irritating to me. Watching the ceremony.
Yeah. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think no matter who you're rooting for, you should be sportsman-like as a fan as well. Gracious in victory, gracious in defeat. But the other side of that coin is like passionate fans. There is an element of like antagonism when you are going to paint things as championship battles. The fight is on. You know what I mean? Like people obviously take like that type of mentality towards it as well. So part of me feels like it may be a it's still in the spirit of competition, but maybe like too far to one side. The example in my mind is of a running joke from North American fans in CS for a particular French player, um, and that even at the end of it all, you know, everyone was able to come together and like realize it's like a bit of a meme, a bit of a joke. It's all in good fun, and like we're just trying to have fun here, right? It's that kind of deal. So I hope that's the tinge of it. But yeah, on the average, you don't want to hear boos on the podium for the podium finishers. Like
And
what?
if he had done something during the race weekend, if he had wiped Pato Award out in his in the other McLaren
Fair.
in practice one, if he had done something on the weekend, but if they're like, well, you and Oscar are giving, like, the team is making orders. Don't you owe him points? And you can put those points in the piggy bank, and then whoever breaks the piggy bank gets the. It's like, it
Stop
just.
inventing, please, please stop
Yeah,
inventing.
why are you going to back to previous races? If he had done something wrong, if he had said something wrong this weekend and they're upset about it, all right, whatever. But like he had a perfect weekend. He didn't step a foot wrong. He is leading the championship now, and I think he's had a really solid run of form over the past few weeks or few races of the season. Like he's really turned it up a notch um, in that battle. So yeah, we've got just to say we've got a lot of excitement left ahead of us. Um, and I'll leave you with a Max fact here, but with that podium, Max is now uh, alone into the top three for podiums all time, only beating or only behind Sir Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher. So third most podiums and just pretty wild to see how quickly he's put a lot of those out there. But yeah, there's my last Max fact for the week.
Who did he usurp? Sebastian Vettel, right?
I think so.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, very fun. Very fun Mexico Grand Prix. Only a few overtaking opportunities. You know, on the circuit, but yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty fun. We got some good DRS action. You know, we got Piastri climbing up through the field. Got the the Bearman feel good story. Everybody loves that. Doesn't matter in the long run, but God damn, it felt good for everybody. So yeah, I thought it was a great Mexican Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah, I had a blast between qualifying through the race. Very fun. In 2 weeks' time, we have the Brazilian Grand Prix coming up, which should be a good time. There's a couple of other racing events on the weekend. We've got the Porsche Sprint Challenge. If you just want to watch some other cars race, we've got the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. We have the F4 Brazilian Championship. That's going to be happening as well on the weekend. And so a lot of kind of mixed driving to see out there. But of course, the Brazil race is often a very interesting one. There's always the opportunity for some interesting weather to change things up. And some excitement there. Brazil's a great circuit, so I am, for one, looking forward to it.
If you weren't able to catch the race, Lando Norris P1, Charles Leclerc P2, and Max Verstappen on the hunt in P3. Very fun podium, very fun race. Aaron, let's get these people out of here with the cool down lap. Give me your flavor of the week, please.
Sounds good. So, for my food this week, over the weekend, Colleen and I went and got dinner with a couple of her friends and their partners. Was really nice time. We were meeting her one friend's new boyfriend for the first time, and so getting to chat with him, get a feel for how he is and everything, and just have some good conversation. The restaurant we ended up going to was phenomenal. It was just very nice little restaurant. We pull up and kind of unexpectedly, it's like valet parking. It's not somewhere that I would have imagined it being this really fancy place, but the restaurant was awesome. The server was like full suit with tie and everything, like very butler esque. I think
Okay.
it, but very good food. I had the prime rib. They had some good cocktails. I had an old fashioned, which was pretty solid. So
Oh,
very
yeah.
good dinner this weekend. For my music, there's a couple of parts to this, but for one, I need you to go ahead and throw out some more of those album recommendations to check out. I know we had talked about it a little bit, but then I couldn't remember specifically the album, so I'm gonna need that in writing, good sir. But this past week, I did go back and I was listening to Section 80 by Kendrick Lamar a little bit. And I love to go back to that album. I really enjoy it. I think his Kendrick's lyricism, the storytelling and everything is so poignant in that album, and I really there's some just songs that I like to go back to in particular and jam to. Um, and then my visual medium for this week, last night when I had football on in the background, Colleen's like, I'm gonna watch a scary movie on my iPad, and then I ended up watching most of the movie along with her. But that movie was Weapons, which came out relatively recently. Um, it was a pretty interesting movie. Yeah, the running with the arms out and everything
Okay.
is that.
Yeah. Don't spoil anything. I'm
No,
very interested.
oh, that's what that is. I was
Yeah, I'm very interested in this title. Don't spoil it.
No, very solid movie. I would recommend. It's got some good twists and turns in it. Not where I expected things to go. So if you check it out, you will enjoy it. But just from the movie and the storytelling, the way that they laid it out, they kind of follow through a number of people's kind of stories, like and then pivot back to that kind of meeting point or different meeting points between characters and jumping off into, okay, now you see this person or that person. And I felt like it really built up the drama and kind of the tension of the movie, because you're slowly getting these little bits and pieces more of the central point from these tertiary stories. And so I thought it was very well done with the way that the movie was written. Scary movies are they're not my top genre, but it was pretty solid overall.
Very cool. Yeah, we watched as a little gang of us. We watched the director's, I don't want to say his first film, but a film that he did before Weapons called Barbarian. A group of us
Oh,
did
I've
a
seen it.
viewing of
Yeah,
that. Yeah, and had
that's a
like,
that's a freaky one. That's
yeah,
a
we all had pretty strong reactions to it as well. So yeah, we're very excited to watch Weapons as well. Yeah, and it sounded like you enjoyed it, and especially if you enjoyed Barbarian, it sounds like a pretty good review then as well. So yeah, definitely more interested now to see Weapons.
yeah. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll have to let us know what you think, but that is my flavor of the week for this week.
Very cool. I'll start on my music and I'll connect to yours a little bit. So I've been doing some like cleaning, excavating, TLC. They like to say on HGTV. I've been doing a little bit of that, and for that, I've wanted to have my earbuds in a lot more. And the previous Bluetooth headphones I had, they would only really give me like 2 good hours of like charge time before they would hit me with the low battery beeps. So I went and I treated myself to some nicer Bluetooth headphones that have like a full day's worth of battery life and like some
Nice.
quality sound. So, very pleased about that. So during some of these cleaning sessions, I can listen to music for extended periods of time. I've been going to some more of my just like kind of sing along hits. I've been hitting shuffle more, just trying to find more of a vibe rather than like a I want to listen to this
Hmm.
type experience. One song that came up very recently, like within the last couple days, is one of the later tracks on Section 80. One of the tougher tracks of a listen, but I think poignant is the Keisha song.
Hmm.
That one's like a very emotional listen, obviously. One thing I'll say about Section 80 that I've appreciated the more times I've gone back to it is the mini narrative of the like midnight gathering of like-minded individuals that are like trying to use community as like a way out of their scenario, right? The actors
Hmm.
and the characters in the little story, like they're trying to help each other, they're trying to learn from each other and like make for themselves like a little bit of a better scenario. So I really like that little it's like the fire pit conversations.
Hmm.
I thought those are very
Yeah.
cool. So that's my music here for the week. Just enjoying some new headphones, just enjoying some sing along stuff. And yeah, just wanted to comment on the Section 80 because, like, bro, that one ages like fine wine. Every time you go back to it, it's better in some way.
Yeah.
So very cool. My food here for the week. I've been working with a recipe that I've gotten pretty good at, but now I can take the leftovers and make it into fried rice. I did
Ooh,
fried rice for the first time and it was a pretty solid attempt, I must say. It was nice and crispy, flavorful, and yeah, went really good as like the day after way to use some ingredients.
nice.
So I was really pleased with the fried rice. That was really cool. And then my visual medium here for the week, I'm gonna hit you with the kooky one. 1977 horror, Japan. It's called House, and it's about a group of friends that because of other plans falling through, they have to take their summer vacation at their friend's house, at their friend Gorgeous's house, and about the horror that ensues about going into this, what is effectively like a haunted house. It's one of the most like psychedelic, uh, I don't want to say psychedelic, but it presents that way. Like the way it's
Hmm.
edited, it's very like vibey, like atmosphere type editing, right? Very stylish. It feels like a movie that you're watching it through like different shaded glasses, right? That are like kaleidoscoping the visuals. You're just like, what is going on here? but it's a beautiful, beautiful little, funny little horror movie that just has some like wonderful editing in it. But it's just like a kind of a normal like ghost story esque tale. If I told it to you in a dramatic fashion, I think you would be spooked. It's one of those things. But yeah, really enjoyed this viewing. I was super surprised at what I found. So yeah, our little movie gang is it's really heating up, and this one was for the spirit of October. Get a little bit kooky and spooky out. So yeah, Japan 1977 House. That was a yeah, that was something.
Yeah, and just looking it up, the movie poster is pretty crazy looking with
Yeah, the cat
the
on fire.
yep. So
Crazy.
yeah, I imagine that definitely pretty cool movie, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're adding things to my list of stuff to check out. Um, but uh, here, wrapping out the flavor of the week, that as always brings us to the end of this week's episode for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Um, but we just appreciate you all taking the time to listen with us. So thank you for being here.
Two episodes after every Formula One event. There are not many Formula One events left, so stick with us for each and every one. We want to see you. We want to see you packing the house here with us. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. This has been another episode of the Tire Boys podcast. Peace out.
See ya.